Hey, this is Ted here. I'm in the Drive Lab. I think this is part 3 of the series on a DPE/290 DP dual prop. Doing some rebuilding on this drive. Found a lot of things wrong, but let's keep going. Okay, we're gonna take the carrier out here and we're gonna change the inner prop shaft seals. So there are a few fasteners I've already taken out. Taken the 2 Allen head bolts off. And behind that, I got a new anode here I'm gonna put in. So this anode has to be removed first so you can get these 2 top bolts. So you take that anode, get that out of the way. This takes a 3/8 Allen socket, and you wanna break those loose, maybe put a little PV blaster in there, some penetrant, krill, whatever you got. So there are stainless steel helicoils inside the case, so they should come out no problem. I'm gonna grease them when I put them back in, or put some non-hardening sealer in there just so it'll ease taking them out later. Once those 4 fasteners, the anode's out, this is out, obviously prop shafts. One note is on the DPE, SPE, or DPD, DPE that look like this, all of the fasteners come out left-hand thread. So the bolt that's in there, the left-hand thread, the nuts left-hand thread, the caps left-hand thread, and this is all. So everything comes off to the left. It doesn't say that in the book real well, so I wanted to explain that. Okay, so the same tools to take this carrier out, what you're gonna do is you're gonna actually pull the tube gear shaft, and the carrier comes right out of the case along this parting line. You need the same tools as DPS, it's 884, 789. So we're gonna thread this down over the outer prop shaft, as such. And I'm gonna thread it almost all the way because this has not been apart in a long time. So I may have to get actually a bolt to put in here and press it out. What we're gonna do is we're gonna try to use these fixture pieces that are also part of the DPE, DPA. These are special tools from long ago. And this is a slide hammer. So we're gonna try to get this thing started, thread this in here, and see if that carrier will come out. I'm assuming the carrier is gonna come out pretty readily because most everyone I've ever taken apart does. Let me get the bench ready for it. Okay, I've got the tools on here. This is the 884, 789 and the adapter. I'm just gonna try to see if this thing will come loose a little bit now. It's moving. We got a gap on it. Good. There we go. All right, that's out. Everything inside looks beautiful. Nice. Not bad. So I'll give you a sneak peek. You can see what I'm seeing down in here for my first time to look inside the lower. And what we got is, it looks like everything looks fine. Gears look okay. Shafts look okay. No cracked teeth on that pinion. I'm gonna rotate that and look at that. Nope, looks nice and smooth. Okay, looks like a nice, just little reseal job we're gonna do. All right, so we're gonna take this apart. Let's get this out of the way first. Same thing, kind of like as DPS, as this comes right off. So we're gonna take this off first, the carrier. Take that straight off. I'm gonna change these 2 seals. I'm gonna press that bearing out too. And yes, that bearing race looks great. So we're gonna clean this all up. Check the sealing surface here for the seal. That looks fine, like that. So just was left and it was not taken care of. So we're going to remove also the bearing and the two seals here, replace that bearing and the two seals, much like we do in DPS. We're just going to press it apart. So I'll get the special tools out and show you what they are, and then I'll pull that apart. So next we're going to press the bearing and the seals out of here. Now the book tells you to use, the old book tells you to use this 884797 tool, and you press the actual race and the seals out this way. So a tool that you could use if you had that tool is you could use this 884926 tool, it's a DPS tool, and then you could press the seal and the bearings out. Now because this seal's crooked, I could pop it out with a screwdriver. But what I'm gonna do is, I was looking at this and it's been a while. Another option is if you're a DPS, if you're a Volvo dealer and you have DPS tools, there's this 884938 tool that we use for the same purpose. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the carrier and put it this way so that that inner race faces up. And then you're gonna use the 801, 999, 801 and the 3855924 tool that's used to press the bearing out of the actual DPS unit. So to put it back together, you're going to use the existing tool. You need this tool, which is that 884797 tool. You're going to take this, once you press it all apart, and you do need the 938 tool, this one, it doesn't really show you in the book. And then you're going to put this in a press, 926. We're going to put this in a press, and then what this does is this will press the bearing into the correct depth down here in the case. So you have to use that tool to press this down to till it sits in the case. Then you're going to use another tool to press the seals back in, and I'll show you that in a minute. But right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it the old way, and I'm going to use this tool, the 938 tool, and I'm going to take this tool and I'm going to press that bearing out. Now the other one is the same exact method that you do for DPS. That is, you take the tube gear and you need the 789 tool that we pulled apart. And you're going to thread this on here. And then you're going to flip it upside down like this, and you're going to put this in a press. And then you need the same tool, the 884803 tool, which is going to press the bearing and the seals out. So basically what I'm going to do is invert this like this and slide this into the housing as such, and then I'm going to press that shaft. I'm going to press the bearing and the seals out on a press. So let me go press that apart, then I'll show you putting it back together. Well, now I know why the seal backed out of this one. After pressing the seal and the bearing apart, I kind of looked at it and I noticed the edge of it is all tapered in. And I'd never seen a carrier where it was, almost like it was machine tapered in. And then I started to look at it a little more and I said, well, where the bearing stops and is pressed into the case, and the distance where the two seals have to be pressed into, there's not enough room. So I was looking at it and I was like, oh, it's got replacement props on it too. I noticed these are pretty new versus the case. So I said, let's get another carrier. And lo and behold, yeah, I believe the propeller hub on the old props failed, and the propeller just drove itself into this and ground the aluminum down and probably tore the seal out, and they just kind of haphazardly tried to put a seal in there with some new props. So we have another carrier. We're gonna have to put another carrier in there. When we do that, now there's a measurement that we have. So we have to do a measurement for the actual location of the intermediate bearing on that shaft. And that comes in with the stamping letter someplace here. Yeah, C20. There's the stamping number that you calculate to figure out that intermediate bearing. If this number's different, then I have to take the whole drive apart and I have to figure out what that calculation is. So, is it our lucky day? It's our lucky day. It's C20. So I don't have to do anything but just put the same exact carrier in there and we're all set. So the two tools you're supposed to use is 884-796 and 801, that's 884 or 999-1081. And this is supposed to fit in behind this race, and it barely fits in here underneath that race to grab it, and then you're supposed to press it out. So that tool does work. That's the old SBE 280-290 drive tool. There is a newer tool, and that tool is for DPS. And that tool takes the forward race out down in the nose cone. You actually turn this around and you actually drive this into the front case and it goes behind it, and then you use a puller and you pull the race out. Well, I found this tool actually fits this race remarkably well. So what I'm gonna do is I wanna press on the thickest side. So I'm gonna press against this. There's more meat here. So I'm actually gonna push this in this way and slide it out, but I wanna turn it over. And I'm gonna use this bolt to do this. So basically what I wanna do is slide this inside the case, just kind of push it in there a little bit. And then as you push it down, it snaps underneath and goes behind the race really nice. And then I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this pusher puller bolt, that's part of the DPS kit, those tools, and we're gonna put this on the 938 tool, just on the outside of this race here. We're gonna keep it on the outside of this race. We're gonna press that out in the press to press it out. Now the reason I have to remove this bearing, both of these cases are stamped C20, but this is shimmed differently from the other drive. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this race out. I've already pulled the race out of the other one, the other carrier. I'm gonna replace these shims into the other carrier, and I'm gonna reuse this race because this race is worn in with the bearing. So I'm gonna put the old shims and the old bearing in the new case. So once I'm done with that, I'll show you how to put it back together. So I've already pressed the races out of the case using that tool. So the next part I'm gonna do is the flip-flop and the new carrier here, all right? And I'm gonna do to press them back in is I'm gonna take this tool 884-938, which is a DPS tool, take the bearing carrier, put it back in the fixture like that. So I'm gonna take the shims from the old case and I'm gonna put them in the new case. Because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this race, which is the existing race, that's already worn in with the existing bearings, and I'm gonna press that into this case. So I have the same shims from here and the same race. I'm just switching them over because this one is destroyed. Okay, so now we're gonna press this race in, and what I wanna do is just put a little bit of lubricant on the outside of that. I always like to do that before I put a race in. I say gear lube. Just to put a little bit on that back of that because you're pressing a piece of steel into a piece of aluminum. Press fit's not super tight. It came out in a press by hand pretty much. All right, I have the shims in there. Race faces up, okay. Get that started, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this 884-795 tool. I'm gonna put this in the press like this. Okay, looks pretty straight there. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press this back in. So let me go press this in. All right, I got this pressed in to the case. Same dimension as it was before I measured here, and it's pretty much identical. I think it was somewhere around 10/1000ths of an inch. The other one was a different height, so that was to ensure that these two are compatible and the C stamping is the same. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to press the seals back into the case and the bearings. So now I need the tools for that. So let's get those tools ready. All right, we're ready to start putting the seals and everything back together. I've got that bearing in, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this on this spacer tool, which is 385/926, I believe. Doesn't say that in the book, but that's what I'm going to use. Yeah, 3855926. That fits nice and supports it. So next I'm going to put the bearing back in. So what I'm going to do is lube up the inside of that a little bit to make sure that bearing goes in smoothly. Just work all up the housing of the bearing. Okay. And always press on the number side of the bearing when it goes in. The tool you need to press that bearing in from the book is 884797. That fits on this tool, and that will press that to the correct depth. So I'm going to press that in. The next part of it is to press the two seals on, and I'm going to press the two seals on. I put those already on the installation tool. I'll get this out of the way. That's step one. Step two, I have taken this special tool 884801 and I've already put the seals back to back with the spring lip seals facing away each other. I'm going to put a little sealing compound on the seals, and then I will press those into the case and they will bottom out to the proper depth in the case. So that's the next step. Next part of it, what we're going to do is we're going to put a new bearing and we're going to put new seals into this. And that piece takes the same seal installer as DPS, that's 884975. All right, so the next part is to put the bearing in here, and I have the bearing with the numbered side against the special installation tool 884806. Numbered side goes towards it. We're going to put that down inside the case and we're going to press that bearing in. After that, what we're going to do is put a little sealing compound, and I have the two seals on here, back-to-back seals. One of them goes on the large step side and the other one on the other side. The spring side faces out, and if you're using a DPS seal, which you can, it's a double lip seal, that seal, or you can use the same exact seals as it says in the book. This seal, the metal side faces up, the rubber side faces out. That puts the spring sides out on both seals, and then that gets pressed in afterwards this way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in a press. I'm going to press this down until it rests on the housing, and then what I'm going to do is let it sit for a little bit to let the air get out between these two seals. Right, so I'm going to go press this bearing in and then press the seals in. I'm going to press this bearing in and then I'm going to press the seals in, and then we're getting really close to putting this thing back together. And one more thing I almost forgot. When I want to put this onto the press, I don't like to rest the bearing on there, so you can use this tool, which is actually to install the bearing on DPS. You can use it on this one too. It's 885. Put that on the press. That fits the race nice. Now we're ready to go press this all together. Great, I think we're all set. Ready to put it back together. Just got to put some grease inside these seals, pack them. I polished up the bearing surfaces and the sealing surfaces. So it's time to put it back together, and let's get to that. All right. Okay, we got our seal installer installed here to protect the seals when we put this back on. I put a little bit of oil in the bearing up here inside the housing, and that bearing inside is well lubricated, so slide that down the shaft. That inside. Next, I'm going to finish greasing up the O-rings, brand new O-rings in this carrier here. I want to put a little bit of grease on the outside of the housing where it's going to contact the housing of the lower unit. Looks pretty good there. Got bearings pre-lubricated, and there is a wide side and a narrow side, so the wide side faces up. Okay, I'm also going to pack these seals with grease as well before I put the seal protector in here. I want to fill these in with grease as well. So I like to pack all the seals in between the two seals with grease. Get the seal protector in, wide side goes up again. Slide that back down over the housing. That protects those seals from getting torn up by that spline shaft. Okay, we're gonna get that started. It's almost straight. If all goes well, it will go into the housing. I don't want too much aggravation. There it goes. Perfect. That seal protector comes off. All right, the 2 bolts. Got some pipe sealing compound on here. I like to use that on these bolts. You can use a non-hardening sealer, you can use grease. There we go. Okay, just gotta pressure test it now. That passes. Fill it up with gear lube, put the props on. We're good. I hope you're enjoying this series. It's gotten complex as we've gone through this old crusty drive, but that's how it goes sometimes. I'll catch you in the next one. If you like the video, please hit that like and subscribe button. Have a good one.